Today I will talk about consumer behavior. This is part of my series of lectures on marketing management. This is my lecture outline. First I will give introduction. Then I'll talk about consumer behavior variables. Then I'll describe factors affecting consumer behavior. Then I briefly describe models of buyer behavior. And finally, I'll talk about buyer's decision process. Consumer behavior can be defined as those acts of consumer directly involved in obtaining, using, and disposing of economic goods and services. It includes the decision process that precedes and determines these acts. What is the importance of the knowledge of consumer behavior for marketers? It is important to successfully market to different market segments. The marketer can understand and manipulate the influencing factors of consumer behavior. I will talk about the factors influencing consumer behavior in this lecture. The marketer can also predict the behavior of consumers. The consumers can be classified into individual consumers and organizational consumers. I'll talk about organizational consumers or organizational buying process in the later part of my lecture. So let us see what are consumer behavior variables. Consumer behavior variables that are relevant to development of marketing communications include consumer needs and motivation, consumer personality, consumer psychographics, consumer perception, consumer learning, consumer attitudes, group behavior, and consumers. So first of all, consumer needs and motivation. Motivation has been described as the driving force within individuals that impels them to act. It is the unfulfilled need that acts as motivator to many actions. Motivation has a dynamic nature. Second is consumer personality. Personality is the sum total of inner psychological characteristics that both determine and reflect how a person responds to his environment. Personality includes self-image, impulsiveness, sociability, achievement orientation, masculinity, self-confidence, conservativeness, prestige consciousness, alertness to change, thriftness, and sentimentalism. The analysis of consumer personality may enable the design of a brand personality. Then consumer psychographics. Psychographics is a study of lifestyle of consumers. It includes activities, interests, and opinions, the so-called AIO inventories. Then consumer perception. Perception may be described as how we see the world around us. Perception is defined as process by which individuals select, organize, and interpret stimuli into a meaningful and coherent picture of the world. Some useful terms for marketers are absolute threshold, sensory adaptation, differential threshold, or just noticeable difference. These are important terms for a marketer. Then consumer learning. Important learning theory concepts include repetition, stimulus generalization, stimulus discrimination, rehearsal, encoding, recode, or chunking. Then consumer attitudes. An attitude is a learned predisposition towards an object. It reflects whether we are favorably or unfavorably disposed towards an object. Then group behavior. Each consumer in a society is a member of a group. The group can influence the purchase by the consumer, and some useful terms are informational influence, normative influence, and identification influence. These are group influence on an individual. Then let us see factors affecting consumer behavior. For this, we make a simple model as input process, that is decision making process, and output, that is action or purchase of product. So input include marketing stimuli and other stimuli. Marketing stimuli include product, price, promotion, and place. These are 4 P's of marketing. And other stimuli include economic, technological, political, and social. These are environments. So all these factors are basically external influence on decision-making process. Decision-making process is influenced by buyer characteristics and buyer decision process. And buyer characteristics include psychological characteristics, personal characteristics, social and cultural characteristics. The action is the choice of product, choice of brand, choice of dealer, then purchase timing and purchase amount. So let us see in detail these buyer characteristics. So psychological factors include needs and motivation, that is Maslow's hierarchy. I'll talk about in detail in my next slide. Perception, how we see the world around us, I'll talk about later. Learning, consumers can be made to learn the desired behavior through an interplay of motives, stimuli, cues, responses, and reinforcement. Then there is something known as generalization of response. We have already seen in my previous slide about learning. Then beliefs and attitude, we have already seen. A belief is a descriptive thought that a person has about something. An attitude is a person's enduring feeling, evaluation, and tendency toward a particular idea or object. We have seen attitude in my previous slide. So this is Maslow's hierarchy. It includes physiological needs, then safety needs, then social needs, then ego needs, and finally self-actualization. This I have taken from this site. Then perception. Perception is, as we know, how we see the world around us. Each person recognizes, selects, organizes, and interprets these stimuli in his own individual manner based on his needs, values, expectations, and this is known as perception. Some important terms are selective exposure. People are more likely to notice stimuli which relate to their immediate needs. Selective distortion, attempts to fit information to suit your own ideas or personal meaning. Selective retention, retain that information which reinforces their values and decisions. Now, the next factor is personal factors. These include demographic factors, education, occupation, income, personality. We have talked about personality in my previous slide. Then lifestyle or psychographics. This we have already covered. And these are very useful for market segmentation, product positioning, and for developing promotion campaign, including new products. So this is the importance of knowledge of personal factors. Then family life cycle. This is divided into these stages. These include a single stage, then young couple, then full nest 1, 2, 3, then empty nest 1 and 2, and then older single, either in labor force or retired. This image I have taken from this side. Then social factors. There are reference groups, which may be primary and secondary, formal and informal, membership group or symbolic group, direct and indirect reference group. Then 3 types of reference group appeal most commonly used in marketing are celebrities, experts, the common man. Then family of orientation, family of procreation. Then opinion leaders are usually innovators. They are always trying out new products. Then there is a term known as diffusion of innovation. This is important term for marketer. Then cultural factors. Culture is learned through the following three ways: formal learning, informal learning, and technical learning. Cultural metamorphosis include convenience, education, physical appearance, materialism, then subculture and social class. Let us see about social class. Social class is usually divided into upper, lower, then middle, upper middle, lower middle, then lower, upper, lower. Now let us see in brief what are various models of buying behavior. So these are the models. One is Howard-Sheth model of buyer behavior, then Engel-Kollat-Blackwell model of buyer behavior, then model of family decision making, and model of industrial buyer behavior. We have seen about the types of consumers, and organization consumers are industrial buyers. So I will talk about industrial buying process later. So this is the first model, Howard-Sheth model of buyer behavior. The four sets of variables are input, perceptual and learning constructs, output, and exogenous or external stimuli. Inputs include significant stimuli, symbolic stimuli, consumer's family, reference group, and social class. Perceptual and learning construct include stimulus ambiguity, perceptual bias, stage of brand comprehension. Then Engel-Kollat-Blackwell model consists of four components: information processing, central control unit, decision process, environmental influences. Then model of family decision making. Some of the important terms include influencer, who provide information and advice in a family; gatekeeper, who control the flow of information about a product or service in a family; decider, who have the power to unilaterally or jointly decide whether or not to buy a product or service; buyer in a family, who actually buy a particular product or service; preparer, who transfer or prepare the product into the form in which it is actually consumed; user, who use or consume a particular product or service. So these terms are very useful as far as family decision making is concerned. So whether a decision will be made individually or jointly by a family or in a family is affected by social class, lifestyle, role orientation, family life cycle stage. We have seen family stages in my previous slides. Perceived risks, product importance, and time pressure. Then finally about models of industrial buyer behavior. There are three distinct aspects in this model. One is that different individuals involved in decision making and the psychological makeup of each. This is important. So more than one individual is involved in organizational buying. Conditions leading to joint decision making among these individuals, and conflict resolution among these individuals to arrive at a decision by problem solving, persuasion, bargaining, and politicking. Then individuals involved in making the purchase decision include purchase agents, engineers, users, and other. The individual psychological characteristics are background of the individual, information sources, active search, perceptual distortion, satisfaction with past purchases, influence of the situational factors. These factors are important. If we know these factors, we can influence the buying of the organizational purchaser. Whether a decision will be made jointly or autonomously depend on the product or company specific factors. Product specific factors include perceived risks, type of purchase, and time pressure. This is similar to that we have seen in family purchase. Then company specific factors include organization orientation, size of organization, influence of the situational factors. Now finally, let us see the decision process. A decision is a selection of an alternative out of the several number of alternatives available. Levels of consumer decisions are at these levels. We have seen already that at the highest level or generic level, then at the category level, then at the brand level, and then finally at the retail level. Generally speaking, human beings are usually quite rational and make systematic use of information available to them. People consider the implications of their actions before they decide to engage or not to engage in a given behavior. This is the theory of reasoned action. Three factors which influence the degree of active reasoning that is undertaken by the consumer is involvement, alternative differentiation, and time pressure. Three types of buying behavior are routinized response behavior, limited problem solving, extended problem solving. So let us see stages in the decision process. One is problem recognition, then pre-purchase information search, which may be internal or external. And three sources are personal sources, commercial sources, and public sources. Personal sources include family, friends, colleagues, neighbors. Commercial sources include advertisements, retailers, salesmen. Public sources include seeing others, consumer information centers. So this is the pre-purchase information search stage. The next stage is evaluation of alternatives. The most commonly used criteria are product attributes, the relative importance of each attribute to the consumer, brand image, attitude towards different brands or alternatives under consideration. Next stage is purchase decision making. Then the final is post-purchase behavior, the gap between expected and the actual performance causes either discomfort or dissonance to the buyer. So this is the post-purchase behavior or post-purchase stage. So this is all for today. Thank you very much.